Hey guys, it's Blue Eyes Master 91, and today I thought I would show you a deck I never thought I'd say. A Sliffer the Sky Dragon Exodia build. So let's dive on into it. So this is a deck I thought about making after I found the revived Sky God trap in the Megatons. It makes it so that this deck actually runs really well. So I have 2 copies of Sliffer and then the 5 pieces of Exodia. That is the main uh, cards for this deck. The rest of the deck is kind of standard for an Exodia deck build. Copy of Morphing Jar. The newly liberated Cyber Jar helps a lot too. Morphing Jar forces you to get a new hand. Cyber Jar lets you board wipe and get new monsters and anything that can't be normal summoned go to your hand. So you board wipe, and then you can summon monsters or add stuff to your hand. It's really, really useful. We have Obnoxious Celtic Guardian to block monster attacks of, I believe it's 1900 or more. 3 copies of Marsh Macaron because it can search out another copy of itself, and then just recursion. It doesn't die unless it gets called by the grave, and even then, it's easy enough to get back. We have 2 copies of Marshmallow because, again, monsters that can't die are fun, in my opinion. And then for the last wall, we have our copy of Spirit Reaper. So, next up with this deck, we have a copy of Alpha, because odds are you can special summon this out, because your opponent's likely going to have stronger monsters than you. Copy of Electromagnetic Turtle to end battle phases. Copy of Kriebel to take a hit when you take direct damage or whatever. 3 copies of Nimble Momonga to gain life points and thin your deck out more. 2 copies of Witch to search out Exodia pieces. Copy of Big Eye to rearrange your top 5 cards. He is an oldie but a goodie. When it comes to effects, there's not a lot of monsters that have a better effect than him. And then the last card in the deck, or last monster in the deck, is Skull Angel, who, when flipped, allows you to draw a card. So that's it on the monsters. Let's dive into our spells. And this is a very, very big deck. I believe it's about 50 cards. So it's a very, very large deck for an Exodia build, but you dive through it really, really quick. We have Monster Reborn, 2 copies of Pot of Extravagance. With this deck, the only 2 cards you want in your extra deck are going to be your copy of Link Karibo, and then Topologic Zero Boros is another really, really good card to keep in your extra deck. But obviously, with Pot of Extravagance, you banish randomly. So it's a crapshoot. Pot of Prosperity would be better in that sense, but I currently only have 2 copies, and I'm not sure what I'm going to do with them yet. So I might end up putting them in here instead of the Extravagance. You are welcome to if you have extra copies. 1 copy of Pot of Avarice, because the recycling from your graveyard into your deck is actually pretty useful. And then you draw 2 cards. Gravekeeper Servant to annoy the heck out of your opponent. Whenever your opponent declares an attack, they have to send the top card of their deck to the grave. It can get dicey because tier elements exist, but it's worth it just because no one's going to see it coming. We have 2 copies of Dark Factory Mass Production to retrieve up to 4 pieces of Exodia. Our copy of Monster Reincarnation for the head. And then we have Foolish Burial to send whatever to the graveyard. So that's it on spells. Let's dive into the traps. For traps, we have 2 copies of Revived Sky God. This is a brand new 2022 God card support. The activation of this card or its effects cannot be negated, nor can its effect be negated. Special summon one Sliffer the Sky Dragon from your graveyard, then each player draws until they have 6 cards in their hand. You can banish this card from your graveyard, place one Monster Reborn from your deck or graveyard on top of your deck, then if a Divine Beast is in your graveyard, draw 1 card. You can only use each effect of Revived Sky God once per turn. So, I like having 2 copies of Revived Sky God just because you can foolish a copy of Sliffer into the graveyard to use this effect. Or you can just use the special summon to draw 6 instead of the draw 1. We have a copy of Drop Off because annoying your opponent is just fun with this deck. 2 copies of Legacy of Yatagarasu. This card, when flipped, allows you to draw 1 card. If you attack with a spirit monster, you could draw 2. Activate only when a spirit monster is face up on your opponent's side of the field. Draw 2 cards. So you can draw 1 card, or you can draw 2 if your opponent has a spirit monster. Odds are they won't. So the draw 1 effect is really nice. Copy of Obliterate to send pieces of Exodia to the graveyard. Backup Soldier to retrieve copies of Exodia pieces. Dark Factory of more production, which allows you to draw cards by sending monsters from either your hand or field to the grave. And then the 1 card that no one would see coming. Copy of Cemetery Bomb. Inflict 100 points of damage to your opponent's life points for each card in their graveyard. So, this can do significant damage. I have won games with this trap card in recent years and back in the day. It's ridiculously good in this deck. Because you are, with Drop Off, Gravekeeper, Servant, you're constantly sending something to their graveyard. So, like I said, the extra deck is kind of random in this deck. Doesn't matter. I do have a copy of Link Karibo and then Zero Boros. Those are the 2 cards that are, in my opinion, the only ones you need. The rest are just kind of random stuff I had spares of. So I have a copy of Gravity Controller, Blackwing Dragon, copy of Fossil Machine, Skull Wagon, Fossil Warrior, Skull Knight, Hot Red Dragon Archfiend, Number 62, Bronkick, Dragon of the Ice Barrier, Stardust Spark, copy of Black Rose Dragon, King Calamity, Tornado Dragon is another one you could summon in this deck if you wanted, because it just needs 2 level 4s, Vermilion Dragon Mech, and then Tresh. So, again, the extra deck really does not matter. You do not need to have one, but Pot of Extravagance and its effect is just too good to ignore. So not running it or not having one is just kind of weird because you can draw 2 cards with Pot of Extravagance. So you get a total of 4 draws with 2 copies of Extravagance. Total of 6 when you add in the Pot of Address. But that is it for this deck profile. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I will catch you later. See ya!